Sagittarius, there's a secret hidden in your work that could change everything. Have you been feeling it too? That quiet unease at work, the strange shift in energy, the conversations that pause when you enter the room, the subtle sense that something is moving behind the scenes, but you just can't quite name it yet? That's not your imagination. It's your intuition. You, more than any other sign, have a soul that reads beneath the surface. You don't just hear what's said. You feel what's left unspoken. And right now your soul is sounding the alarm. Something important is unfolding, and you've only caught glimpses of the truth. This isn't a coincidence. It's a calling. A wake-up from the universe. Something significant is happening in your professional world, and it's either being hidden, delayed, or redirected, without your knowledge. The question is, will you wait for the truth to be revealed to you, or will you rise up and uncover it yourself? Because the truth? It's coming, and it has the power to completely transform the way you see your career, your value, and your future. If you felt that inner tension building lately, like you're missing a crucial piece of the puzzle, this message is for you. Like, share, and subscribe to Zodiac Wisdom so you don't miss the deeper truth that's about to unfold. Because Sagittarius, what's being kept from you could be the very key that unlocks your next breakthrough. Gate 1: Uncovering what's hidden. Your instinct is right. Sagittarius, your intuition is not wrong. It never was. That unsettling feeling you've been carrying into your workplace, the weight in your chest, the shift in someone's tone, the way your name seems to hover in rooms you weren't invited into, it's all real. Something is being kept from you. And what's more, it's something that could shape the entire course of your professional future. You've always had this inner compass, this built-in radar for truth. Even when you couldn't explain why, your soul knew when something was off. And now, it's screaming. Not out of fear, but out of divine urgency. Because what you are not being told may be holding you back from opportunities you were born to lead. You may be wondering, am I just imagining things? Am I overreacting? But ask yourself, since when has your restlessness ever been random? As a Sagittarius, you are ruled by Jupiter, the planet of truth, expansion, and spiritual justice. You don't just seek knowledge, you live for it. And when knowledge is deliberately withheld from you, especially in environments where you pour your energy, your gifts, and your brilliance, something sacred within you begins to rebel. Let me share with you the story of Jamal, a Sagittarius client of mine. He worked for a growing startup in San Diego. He was the ideas guy, always suggesting better systems, more efficient processes, creative new directions. He was praised, liked, and trusted. Or so he thought. One afternoon, after returning from a short vacation, Jamal sensed something had shifted. Meetings were happening without him. Decisions were being made behind closed doors. He overheard vague references to the next phase of the company, something he hadn't been briefed on. When he asked questions, responses were polite, but evasive. His gut told him something big was unfolding, but no one was saying it out loud. That night he couldn't sleep. He journaled. He meditated. He sat with the question, what is being hidden from me? And a strange image came to mind, him standing outside a room with no windows. He could hear muffled voices but couldn't make out the words. That's exactly what the situation felt like. Closed off. Opaque. Strategic. Eventually, through a chance lunch with a coworker from another department, Jamal discovered that a major restructuring was being planned, and that his role was on the potential cut list not because he wasn't good but because leadership was moving toward automation in areas he excelled at. He had two choices. Wait for the announcement like everyone else, or get ahead of the wave and pivot. He chose to pivot. Within a month, he'd networked his way into a better aligned role in another company. One that celebrated his visionary thinking and placed him at the front of decisions, not the periphery. And the thing he said to me later still echoes. What saved me wasn't the warning, it was trusting that my instincts were the warning. Sagittarius, that's the truth I need you to anchor into right now. Your instincts are the revelation, the whispers, the hesitations, the meetings that feel different, the eye contact that's too brief or too forced, the way your manager suddenly compliments you more than usual, or avoids you entirely. These are not coincidences. These are data points in your soul's map, and you were made to read them. But what if, just what if, what's being hidden isn't something threatening but something incredible? I've worked with many Sagittarians like you, Those with sharp vision and a free spirit who somehow always find themselves caught between what they sense and what they're told. One of them, a woman named Clara, worked in international education. She began to feel the same unease. People around her were having side meetings. She wasn't being looped into projects she normally led. When she finally asked her director directly what was going on, she was told, "There's nothing to worry about." But something in her heart said, "That's not true." What she didn't know was that leadership was quietly planning to promote her, but to a different department in another country. They wanted to restructure the program and needed someone bold, innovative, and globally minded. Clara's name was at the top of the list, but they didn't want to tell her until it was official. So she stayed in limbo for weeks, wondering what she'd done wrong, when in fact she was being prepared to soar. Sagittarius, the same may be true for you. This hidden thing could be a promotion, project, a restructuring, transition, an opportunity to lead, or yes, even a challenge to overcome. But regardless of what it is, the truth must find you, and it will, because you won't stop until it does. Here's what I want you to do in the coming days. First, observe. Don't accuse. Don't panic. Just observe with presence. Listen between the lines. Watch where people's energy contracts or shifts. Note who suddenly becomes warm or cold. Second, trust your nervous system. If your stomach tightens when you enter a room, ask yourself why. If your thoughts loop on a particular conversation, revisit it. Write it down. Sagittarius has a sharp memory when emotionally activated. Use it. Third, ask questions, but do so with wisdom. Frame them in curiosity, not confrontation. People reveal more when they feel relaxed. You're naturally disarming. Use that gift. Finally, remember this. Your value is not determined by what is said about you behind closed doors, but your destiny often is. And that's why staying informed strategically, spiritually, and intuitively is no longer optional. You deserve to know what's being discussed about your future. You deserve to have access to the rooms where decisions are made that affect your life. You deserve to lead, not linger at the edge of someone else's plans. So no, you're not imagining things. You're awakening, and the truth is already moving toward you. Gate 2, dealing with uncertainty. Why you're feeling restless and how to respond. Sagittarius, let's talk about the tension you've been carrying in your body lately. That low hum of anxiety in your chest, the mental exhaustion, the sense that you're constantly bracing for news you can't name yet. You wake up wondering if today will be the day you learn the truth. You go to bed spinning stories in your mind, trying to make sense of incomplete pieces. And in between, you try to focus on work, on tasks, on conversations, but part of your energy is always elsewhere. Watching, waiting, sensing. This is not paranoia. This is sacred unrest. As a Sagittarius, you are designed to move toward truth. Stagnation is not your nature. You are ruled by the seeker planet Jupiter, expansive, honest, bold. When things are withheld from you, especially things that impact your path, your soul doesn't go quiet. It rises. It demands clarity. And when clarity doesn't come, you become restless. But here's something you may not have realized. Restlessness is not the enemy. It's the invitation. Restlessness is your soul saying, "This chapter is incomplete." It's your energy pushing against the walls of something that's no longer big enough to hold your growth. That anxiety you feel walking into the office? It's not just because of what others may be doing. It's because your spirit is trying to break through to the next level of your own becoming. Let me tell you about Elise, a Sagittarius woman who worked in corporate design. For months, she'd felt like something wasn't right. Her projects were being reassigned without explanation. Her direct manager stopped offering feedback. Every week she felt less and less connected to what had once inspired her. She thought maybe it was burnout. Maybe she just needed a vacation. But even after time off, the uneasiness remained. Finally, in a moment of stillness, she asked herself, what if this isn't burnout? What if it's truth trying to get my attention? 2 days later, during an impromptu elevator ride with someone in senior leadership, she learned about a coming merger that would eliminate her department within months. No one had told her, yet she'd felt it all along. That knowing, that tension, that tightness in her chest, it had been guiding her to prepare. Because of her intuition, she was able to begin networking and secure a new role weeks before the announcement hit. Restlessness, when honored, becomes a compass. But when ignored, it becomes a trap, keeping you stuck in indecision, sleepless nights, and second-guessing yourself. Sagittarius, the key is not to fear the unrest. It's to decode it. Start by asking yourself this: what am I afraid to admit is already happening? Sometimes uncertainty isn't about the external unknown. It's about your own reluctance to speak a truth that your soul has already made peace with. Maybe you already know that a chapter at your current job is ending. Maybe you sense that your value isn't being seen clearly by those above you. Maybe you feel the pull towards something greater, but haven't given yourself permission to pursue it. This is not the time to push those feelings away. It's time to honor them. And yet, you don't need to act impulsively. Sagittarius energy loves to leap, but wisdom says, pause, align, then move. So here's how you respond to the restlessness, not by silencing it, but by turning it into strategy. Create sacred space daily. Before reacting to anything external, tend to your internal world. 5 minutes in silence, a page of journaling, a walk without music. These are not luxuries. They are survival tools in uncertain times. You can't hear your guidance if the noise is louder than your inner voice. Name what's real. Write down exactly what you're sensing. List the signs. Make it concrete. When we name the unknown, we take its power back. Say it out loud if you must. I believe something is happening behind the scenes. Your truth doesn't need approval to be valid. Reclaim your energy. Restlessness drains when it becomes rumination, but it fuels when it becomes intention. Channel it. Update your resume. Research new paths. Request a performance review. Start tracking your wins. Energy, once directed, becomes powerful. Refuse to shrink. In times of uncertainty, people often begin to dim their light. Speak less, ask less, contribute less. Don't. This is the moment to stand tall in your essence. Continue showing up with presence, confidence, and purpose. Not for their validation, but for your own integrity. You were not meant to linger in shadows, Sagittarius. You were meant to blaze through them. And this restlessness? It's not asking you to be afraid. It's asking you to be awake. Because soon the information you seek will surface. And when it does, you'll be ready, not because you knew every detail, but because you were brave enough to stay conscious in the mystery. So breathe. You're not unraveling. You're releasing. You're not drifting. You're redirecting. And what comes next will feel like relief because it will be rooted in truth. The tension inside you is not a flaw. It is the flame that forges your next breakthrough. Gate 3, Sacred Power. How the right work environment honors your fire. Sagittarius, your soul was never meant to be managed. It was meant to be ignited. No matter how polished the office, how respectful the team, or how attractive the paycheck. If the environment doesn't honor your inner fire, you will wither in place. You'll wake up every morning feeling like your chest is pressing against an invisible wall. And no title, no bonus, no applause will make that pressure go away. You're not here to perform. You're here to expand. And expansion doesn't happen in silence, under flickering fluorescent lights, within 4 beige walls that tell you when to speak and when to shrink. Expansion happens when your spirit is allowed to breathe. When your ideas are welcomed, your risks respected, your vision invited into the room. You know this. You've always known this. Even when you were young, even before you had the words for it, you could feel it. The moment someone tried to box you in, you instinctively pushed back. Not out of rebellion, out of truth. Because Sagittarius is not just a sign. It is a frequency. And that frequency carries freedom, fire, and fierce devotion to meaning. The tragedy is that so many Sagittarians spend years in the wrong spaces, thinking something is wrong with them, when really something is misaligned around them. Let me tell you about Trevor, a Sagittarius I once worked with. He was a senior analyst at a top-tier tech firm. Brilliant, sharp, always 10 steps ahead in strategy. But every time he offered a big idea, he was told, let's stick to the framework. Every time he asked to pitch to clients directly, he was told, stay in your lane. And every time he asked why, the answer was always some version of, that's just how we do it here. After months of restless nights and soul-searching mornings, he finally admitted what he'd been denying. I've outgrown this container. He left. Not in anger, but in clarity. And within a year, he'd co-founded a consultancy that allowed him to speak, teach, and advise on his own terms. His fire wasn't too much. It was too rare for the space he was in. Sagittarius, your work is not just your job. It is a spiritual expression. And if your environment doesn't make space for your truth, your growth, your curiosity, then it is not just inconvenient. It is soul-depleting. You need work that challenges your mind but frees your spirit. You need colleagues who don't just tolerate your questions, they expect them. You need a mission that's bigger than profits and policies. You need purpose. And if you don't have that, the symptoms begin. You start to feel tired even after sleeping. You lose passion for things you once loved. You begin to doubt your worth, your path, your timing. You wonder if maybe you've peaked, or maybe you were never meant to shine that brightly after all. But hear me clearly. That is not your truth. It's the result of being in an environment that never recognized your sacred flame to begin with. So ask yourself gently but honestly, does my current workspace honor my fire? Not just your resume, your skill set, your polite smile. Your fire, that wild, untamed brilliance that questions systems, sees the future, and wants to lift everyone with it. If the answer is no, then please don't shrink. Don't rationalize. Don't make excuses for people who don't see you. Instead, turn inward. Begin to imagine the kind of environment your soul would thrive in. Would it be collaborative, visionary, more flexible, more creative? Would your ideas be met with curiosity instead of caution? Would you feel trusted enough to lead without being micromanaged? This isn't fantasy. This is alignment. And alignment is not a luxury for you. It is essential. Because when a Sagittarius is aligned, they don't just succeed, they inspire. They magnetize. They awaken others with their joy, their boldness, their clarity of purpose. Your sacred fire is not a liability. It's your compass. And when your work aligns with that inner flame, you don't just work. You live fully. You were not meant to beg for space. You were born to expand it. And the moment you stop trying to fit your brilliance into someone else's mold, you'll remember who you've been all along. A wild, wise, radiant force, sent not to follow but to illuminate the path. So if you felt the whisper lately, this place isn't mine, honor it. Don't panic. Don't leap without direction. But start preparing. Start dreaming again. Start tuning into what your soul really wants to build, lead, or liberate. Because when you find the right space, one that honors your Sagittarius essence, you won't just find a job. You'll find your sacred mission. Gate for a higher awakening. When the soul can no longer be silent. Sagittarius, there comes a moment in every soul's journey when silence becomes unbearable. Not the silence of the outer world, but the silence within. The kind that creeps in when your spirit has been whispering truth for too long, and you've kept turning the volume down just to survive. You've reached that moment. And this is not a breakdown. It is a sacred awakening. You are not simply tired of work. You are tired of the ways in which you've betrayed yourself to belong. You are exhausted by the masks you've worn to keep peace, by the times you've swallowed your voice to keep your position, by the way your intuition has screamed behind the scenes while you smiled through meetings that drained your soul. That inner knowing, the fire at the core of your being. It's no longer content to be quiet. You are a truth teller, Sagittarius. And right now, truth is rising from within you like a tide that refuses to be held back by logic, fear, or politeness. It may begin subtly, an ache in your chest when you hear your manager praise mediocrity, a strange sense of detachment when you're asked to perform tasks that feel meaningless, a sudden inability to ignore your own needs while chasing someone else's vision. But make no mistake, this is divine discontent. And it is holy. You were not sent here to follow empty routines or to be complicit in silence. You were sent here to awaken systems, to challenge what is broken, and to restore meaning in places that have become mechanical. And yet, before you can do that in the outer world, you must first respond to the revolution taking place within you. Because this isn't just about your job. This is about your alignment with your higher self. There's a reason the universe has allowed certain truths to remain hidden from you until now. Not because you're not worthy of knowing, but because the knowing had to come from the inside first. You see, if someone had simply told you what was going on behind the scenes, you might have accepted it passively. But because you felt it, sensed it, wrestled with it, you're now meeting the truth on your own terms. And that, dear Sagittarius, is power. The spiritual purpose of your unrest is not to punish you. It is to initiate you. You are not being left out of conversations to feel rejected. You are being pulled out of alignment with things that no longer deserve your energy. The awkward pauses, the withheld emails, the shifting dynamics, they are symptoms, not the source. The source is the fact that your vibration is rising, and your current environment can no longer meet it. You are undergoing what mystics call a threshold crossing, a moment when the old world has lost its grip, but the new world has yet to arrive. It is disorienting, it is sacred, and it requires trust. Trust that what you are sensing is valid. Trust that your discomfort is wisdom in disguise. Trust that the people pulling away are not abandoning you, they are being moved out of resonance. Trust that the vision you are beginning to glimpse, even faintly, is not a fantasy. It is a preview. And I know this space is vulnerable. I know how tempting it is to stay where it's familiar, to silence the awakening in favor of security. But Sagittarius, you were never designed for safety. You were born for truth. And truth is never sterile. It's wild. It cracks open the shell you've been hiding in, and shows you who you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning. There will be days when this process feels like grief. And that's okay. Let it come. Mourn the identity that kept you safe. Mourn the version of you that thought being agreeable was the same as being valued. But after the tears, let the clarity in. Let the deeper knowing rise. Because you are not broken. You are being reassembled by the divine in ways that are more aligned with your purpose than you can currently imagine. One day soon you will look back at this season and see it for what it truly was. A cosmic intervention. Not a detour, but a divine redirection. Not a punishment, but a preparation. And when that day comes, you will understand why your soul had to shake the ground beneath your feet. You will see that your discomfort was the universe saying, "There's more. More to explore. More to create. More to become." And you were always meant to say yes. So if your soul feels like it's on fire lately, if your truth can no longer be contained, don't fight it. Follow it. Because this isn't the end. It's the first spark of something extraordinary. The moment you stop apologizing for your depth and start honoring the voice that's been waiting to speak through you all along. Let it rise, Sagittarius. Let it all rise. Conclusion: the truth was never outside of you. Sagittarius, take a deep breath. You've just walked through an inner initiation. A journey not into new information, but into remembrance. You didn't come here to simply discover what's hidden behind boardroom doors or whispered office secrets. You came to awaken to the deeper truth. That the clarity you've been chasing in the outer world has always been waiting within you. Every sign, every restless night, every shift in the atmosphere around you wasn't just warning. It was preparation. Not just of your career but of your character. The fire inside of you isn't random. It's sacred. And now it is aligned with a higher calling. You are not just an employee. You are a vessel of purpose. You are not just observing change. You are the catalyst for it. You are not just feeling the weight of uncertainty. You are being asked to embody truth, even when no one else dares speak it. And that, Sagittarius, is courage. The kind that doesn't always roar, but burns steadily through confusion, through resistance, through transition. You were born to hold that fire. To walk through the unknown not because you have all the answers, but because you trust the direction of your soul. So if something inside you shifted as you listened to this, if your chest opened, if a single tear fell, if a quiet yes echoed inside you, then this message found its home. Let that yes be the beginning of a new chapter. One where you stop waiting for permission and start listening to your own knowing. One where you choose presence over performance. Where you walk in full awareness, full alignment, and full ownership of who you are. If this journey touched something sacred inside of you, I invite you to stay connected. Like this video not just as a gesture, but as a declaration. I am ready to live aligned. Subscribe to our channel to walk with us through future awakenings. And share this message with someone else who might be feeling the same silent unrest. Let them know they are not alone. Because what we awaken in ourselves, we awaken in others. And Sagittarius, your truth is contagious. Let it ripple. Let it rise.